what's up, everyone? Gary Simon of Slant Audio. So we're going to be covering the solo, just the solo from, okay, you're an idiot. What's it fucking called, you dumb cunt? Pantera. I'm broken, motherfucker. Unlike other tutorials, outside of just covering, you know, your fretting hand or your left hand technique, I also want to talk about right hand or your picking hand technique, you know, in terms of, you know, how I specifically approach this solo in different areas in terms of, you know, is it a downstroke versus upstroke versus pull-offs and all that good stuff. And there's a lot of pull-offs in this particular solo. So let's talk about tuning real quickly. So first of all, this is in a step and a half down from standard tuning. So if you're going from E, a step and a half down, this is C sharp plus 40 cents, if that makes sense. So if I turn my volume up here, just to give you kind of a reference. All right, that's where you pretty much want to be to try to be, you know, equal with what Dimebag's doing here in the song. All right, so we're going to cover this just in sections, and I will do my very best to cover both left hand and right hand where it makes sense. If there's dead simple easy parts, I'm not going to really cover your right hand picking technique because if it's not very fast, it's not that big. That's not that much of a deal. And there are some areas that are slower, but I'm talking too much. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the very All right, so the very beginning of the solo starts off just with this bend right here. And we're going to call this section the first section that we're going to cover here. All right, so basically that bend, I'm using these two middle fingers, and the third finger is going to go on the 15th fret of the B string, and then, of course, the middle finger is going to go here on the 14th fret of the G string. And the way we bend this is we keep the 15th fret of the B string pretty much stationary, but we bend up with our middle finger on the B string like this. We want to bend basically a whole tone there. And the way he starts off the solo, he kind of does this, he does it real fast. All right? So after that, when you're bent, you do this. You pick with just an upstroke. This is pretty simple. With your index finger, which is free at that point, on the 12th fret of the E string. So you're like this. So you go through that twice. But when you come up each time, you're bending back up. So you release the tension a bit, and then you bend back up. So I'll go real slow. And then you slide down. All right? When you come back up, you slide up. Here on the G string, 12th fret with your index finger. All right, so... Oh, I forgot to mention there's also vibrato there just before that bend. So we start on a downstroke here. So down, up, down. So we hit that twice there on the 14th fret of the B string. And then we do an upstroke here on the 12th, back on the 12th with your index finger again. And we maintain that same sort of up, down pattern for the rest of this. So real slow. That sounded like shit. There we go. Don't do that. And so all that is just alternating back and forth between the 12th on the B and the 14th and 15th here with your third and fourth finger. Up, down, up, down. So we ended on an upstroke. All right. Now let's go on to the next section. All right, so this is probably the most difficult part of the entire solo. And this solo, I wouldn't say isn't his most difficult solo. by any means. But still, if we're talking about this solo, this is probably the most difficult part. It's not blazingly fast, but there's so many notes in it, and in the picking can get a little bit tricky. So you're gonna have to take it slow, real slow at the beginning to really work it into your muscle memory, and be certain that you're really following the correct picking pattern from the start. Otherwise, it's not worth practicing crap where you're having issues with your picking, and certain notes and maybe certain transitions between strings sound like crap. So we're going to break this particular section up into subsections just because there's a lot of notes here. So we'll call this the very first section. Okay, so what that is basically, we're going to start on a downstroke. There's a lot of pull-offs as well. Like every other note is a pull-off for the most part. There's some different areas, but so what we're going to do with our pinky finger here on 17 of the high E, we're going to downstroke and pull off with our index finger, or to our index finger on the 12th fret. All right, so with that downstroke, we can then do an upstroke with our middle finger here on the 14th, and then also a pull off to 12. So here's what that looks like. Down, pull off, up, pull off. So because the last stroke here is up, we can do a downstroke. And this time, instead of using my pinky for this on the B string just above it, we're going to use the middle finger here and do a downstroke. So here's what we have so far. Okay, so then with that downstroke, we have the ability to upstroke here back on the 12 of the high E. All right, so it's an immediate upstroke, so down, up. So we're hitting the same note essentially. Down, up, and then down, pull off on 14 to 12, and then up, same thing, 14 to 12, pull off. Then we're going to, with that upstroke, we're going to do a downstroke once again here on the 17th of the B. And then we're going to do an upstroke once again here on the 12th of the E. And then we're going to do a downstroke again right back to our 17th on the B. And then we're going to do alternate picking. So we just did it down. We'll just go up, down, up. So it's a down. And what that is just going chromatically here from 17, 16, and I use my middle finger for these two notes from 16 to 15, and then we switch here to 12 on the same string B. So let's go through that really slowly. So you're basically ending on an upstroke right there. All right, so that's the subsection 1 of section 2 of the solo. Let's move on to the next part right here, and this all still runs in. There's no pauses or anything. All right, so the next part goes like this after this. All right, so we're going to call this the subsection 2. All right, so that's all in one string, and we're going to start with a downstroke. Remember, we ended on an upstroke here on the 12th of the B. So we're going to start with a downstroke here on 17 with our pinky, pull off to 12, up on the 14th of the B, pull off to 12 once again, and then the same thing here from 13 to 12. And then you go back to 14, twice, pull off, and then twice. So that's all those are picked with a pull off in between, always going back to the 12th fret. Okay, so far we have. All right. Now the next section. All right. So what we'll do is, so we have our section before, which is this. Then we go upstroke. That's on the G string, 14 to 12. I do an upstroke. I just do alternate picking. I don't do a pull off here. So I go upstroke, downstroke, and then upstroke on the B, 15. Pull off to 12, and then we'll do 2 more of 13 to 12, pull off. So that's down up, and then we go back and do that again. So we're downstroke on the 15th of the G string, and then we go like this. That's a downstroke on the 13. We'll pull off to 12, and then we do 16 with our pinky finger downstroke, and then an upstroke back to 12 here on the B, and then downstroke, and that's just all alternate picking, going from 16, 15, 14, and then to 12. Let's do that very slow because that was a ton of notes right there. So we're going to lead into it from the subsection 2. Down, up, rather. Down. All right, so I'm going to go through the whole thing at very slow speed. All right, so the third section here, after that run, goes like this. All right, so it starts with a slide up, downstroke to the 14th on the G string. So down, up, we hit it twice. And we pull off then to 12. Then a downstroke here on the D on 14. All right, on that downstroke, we then can do an upstroke here on the 12th fret with our index finger, which still should be there from the previous time you played it. And it's going to be in a down up. All right, so it's, or not down up rather, but up down. Up, down, slide to 11, and then we do an upstroke here on 12 of the D string. And then we do an upstroke on 11, so we do that twice. And then slide down here to the 7th fret of the same string. So, real slowly. Usually, I do actually pick this. And it ends up being an upstroke. All right, great. So, after that, we have the 4th section. So that starts off here on the A string, and we go, usually I just slide into the 5th and then do a hammer on to the 7th. So it's a downstroke, and then I do another downstroke here on the D string, which are the same 2 frets, 5th and 7th. So when you're here on the 3rd to 5th on the A string, slide up to the 7th. And once again, we're going to do another downstroke, so it's sort of like economy picking or like a sweep pick kind of. So this happens to be the 7th on the G string. and then another hammer on to the 9th on the G string. Then you immediately come here to the 8th fret of the B string and you do a bend. So it's a whole step. Now, when you have that bent all the way up here, you have to get your pinch harmonics in. And so when you do that, you want to have it bent all the way up here, and then you let it go a little bit, and then you bend it back up. So it sounds like this. All right. You have to find out exactly where on your strings with your finger or your thumb in the pick that you have to hit in order to make that pinch harmonic. Because depending on where you hit it, it's going to make it sound like a different pitch or a different note. And then, right after you do that, you do another pinch harmonic here on the G string on 9. But you gotta try to make that a pinch harmonic. Like that. So it's, I just do a down pick and then another down pick with a pinch harmonic. All right, so real slowly. So the next section. Okay, so that's a slide up here on the G string up to the 16th fret, sorry about that, with your index finger. Next middle finger here is going to be right next to it on the B string here on the 17th fret with a little bit of vibrato. All right, and then we go back here to 16th. And then we're up to the, what is that, the 19th here. And then we go back once again to 16th. The 20th. Except you're doing vibrato here. Then you do one more time back here to the 16th. And then really bend the 20th up. All right, then the next section after that. All right, so this is a crazy part, a very unique part of the solo. We're going to take basically our middle finger and our 4th finger here on the 18th fret of both B and E strings, the very last 2 strings. And it's kind of tough to get them in there. Make sure you cut your fingernails, mine are a little bit long. And we're going to strum both of those with a downstroke, and we're going to pull up. All right, so then we're going to let it go, and we're going to bend up even further the next time. And you repeat that. So then after you do that, same exact situation here where your fingers are crammed together. We're going to go up here on the 21st fret, same strings. All right, so we're going to, that sounds like fucking out of tune. All right, so we're on, so then we go to the 21st fret here, same situation, and without a bend this time, we're just going to slide down to the 16th fret. All right, so what that is again, we're going from 21 to 16, back up, we slide up to 21 again, and then we do a vibrato here on the 18th fret of the E string. And then we do another same exact situation up here, all the way on the 22nd fret. All right, so real slowly, the whole thing, or that whole section rather. Just like that. Then the final part, we're going to go ahead here on the 15th of the B string, and it's a little bit of a chromatic thing, so we're going 16th, 17th, 18th, and then the 16th. No, fucking idiot. We're going to go 15th, 16th, 17th, and then the 19th. And then we're going to come down after that, same area, except this time we're going to go 15, and then we're going to skip a fret and go 17, 18, 19. So it's kind of reversed. All right, so you run through that little sequence twice. Then you go one more time up here, so you do that part 3 times. And then you just run through the following notes. So you go 15, and this is all alternate pick, by the way. So you go 15, 17, 18, and I just take this finger and just keep on going up. So we get up to 19, 20, and then 22, and then a big bend. So that part real slowly. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed the demo here and this lesson. Hopefully I'm not too wordy, and hopefully I get better at this. It's kind of hard trying to keep both left and right hand technique in the forefront of my mind while trying to teach. So if I can prove, yeah, definitely let me know. Call me every name in the book. I don't care. Ultimately, I just want to get better. So anyhow, yeah, make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll be doing more of these. The next one, I believe, is going to be another Pantera solo, so that'll bring me to 3 so far. And yeah, so I'll see you guys real soon. Goodbye.